Hi, welcome to LawNext PR. This is Bob Ambrogi. This is the show where we talk about the latest news coming out of the legal tech industry and hear directly from the companies that are developing these products and services. And I am here today with three of the top people from Oddr to discuss a number of stories they've announced this week. So before we get into talking about the news, why don't we kind of go around and introduce yourselves? Milan, you want to kick?
Sure. First, thanks for having us on your show over here at the conference. My name is Milan Bobde. I'm one of the co-founders here at Oddr.
Sumit, thanks for having us, Bob. My name is Sumit Garg. I'm also one of the co-founders and in charge of the engineering and product delivery.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bob, for having us. My name is Saurabh Mehra. I'm one of the co-founders and I lead the product organization here at Oria.
All right, and again, before we get into the news, why don't you give people a little bit of a background on Oddr and what you do?
Yeah. So I can kick it off. The Oddr is, a revenue intelligence platform that helps firms manage their invoice lifecycle. So from the time an invoice is finalized till it is paid and reconciled, there are lots of things that happen in between. And today, if you look at most law firms have this pretty fragmented. When we started about 3.5, 4 years ago, our vision then and continues to be to have a single platform that makes the entire invoice lifecycle for firms to easily manage, streamline, and as a result of that, start to get intelligence, which today doesn't happen because of the fragmented nature of the system. So billing, collections, payments, reconciliation, that's the space we work in.
And it's really, you're kind of alone in that space. I mean, people tackle different parts of it, but the way you approach it is really kind of unique, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, we always, I think many times we have talked, Bob, that invoice to cash is actually a Gartner's Magic Quadrant. And there's a product category. Although 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago, when we started, there was nothing like this. Firms never budgeted for invoice to cash or revenue cycle. It was all fragmented. There's a billing software, there's a collection software, there's siloed payments, and then manual reconciliation. So we kind of brought this concept of having it in one platform, not only eliminates the point-to-point integrations and lack of data that transfers between the systems, but when you have an overarching platform, you start to see insights that really drive those business decisions for folks, whether it's a director of billing or whether it's the CFO or a partner. Having a full vision of end-to-end, what's happening is really the driver of good business strategy, lowering your invoice outstanding days, as well as lowering your write-offs. And a great byproduct of this is best experience for your clients.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely we feel we've kind of brought this industry a good product category, which is invoice to cash. So yeah, super excited about what we are seeing in the market.
Great. Anything you want to add to that at all?
I agree. This is bringing in a lot of intelligence in this space. There's so much good data here that is not used currently because of the fragmented nature. And that gives us an opportunity to create really good insights to reduce DSO and increase revenue collections.
Yeah, I think visibility is one part that Milan mentioned. I think these were just handled with siloed teams, not really talking to each other. And I think now that we brought that together and having that depth of data, we can bring a lot of insights that'll help the law firms really operationalize and make this process better. And we'll talk about that today as well.
Yeah. Well, where do you want to start? So you've had a number of announcements over the last week, and some involving generative AI, not surprisingly. Is that a good place to start? You want to start?
Yeah.
We
love to always talk about it. And I think we've been kind of introducing some of the AI capabilities throughout the platform from day one. But now as we kind of keep expanding into all different aspects of this life cycle, we are seeing data that really has never been seen in the context of what we bring it to the value. So very good example here, starting with, the Gen AI that we launched as a part of our Oddr Revenue Intelligence Assistant is just summarizing things. So one of the typical things that leaders want to know is, hey, what's happening with this client? How's this client doing? How's the health? And to answer this simple question, the team has to go back, look at hundreds of notes, look at their invoices, look at their payments pattern. How long does the client take to pay? Look at, their communication with the client, all bunch of financial stuff. And then they would come up and try to summarize this. Now, this can take hours, sometimes, maybe half a day to a day. and it's no one's good use of time, right? So what we introduced in our platform as a first capability within the Oria assistant is, you click with one button and the system in runtime will go and look through all of this information for the client. And it will bring back a good summarized view of, hey, what's happening with this client? Like what's outstanding? How long does it take to pay? Are there any commitments happening with the email communication or notes being captured? So it gives you a quick insight into what's happening with it. And this is just the first of many things, but I'll let Sumit and Saurabh talk about some of our other stuff too.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're building the blocks of, Gen AI these days is not about technology. There's a lot of good models out there that everyone has access to. It's about the data you have and what kind of use cases you're trying to solve. This is an excellent use case, which is actually saving teams hours and hours of manual effort. And we are able to do this instantly, much better. Moving forward, we are taking this into more of the biller and collector co-pilot concept, where we can recommend actions to say, based on this client's collection, whatever current state, we recommend you send this note to the client and follow up. And then the note would be custom tailored to what's been happening with the client.
As Sumit said, I think Oria brings, it really tries and helps these collectors and collection managers. The email was a great example where, we're drafting something for them, we're tailoring the response to the client to what their expectations are. So, I think it's going to be a game changer. I want to share a story about how this originated and how this came together. I was at a client. We had an all-day meeting with the collection manager, the director of finance, the CFO, and the collection manager had to step away because she got an email from the managing partner. They needed something right away. She vanished for about 4 hours, but then later met with me, apologized that she had to step away because this was really important, because they wanted to really understand what the client health was. And I feel like with Oria, I think the kind of work that she had to do for 4 hours, we could have done that in a much rapid manner and with much more accuracy, because the kind of data that we have, it's really...
If only she had had your product, she could have met with you longer.
That's right.
She had a product, the feature wasn't out yet. And now I think they're really, really excited to see that they're actually using it in the platforms.
So you've introduced this Revenue Intelligence Assistant. We're talking a lot about this concept of revenue intelligence. What do you really mean by that? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, so I think, professional services in general, their main revenue stream is the invoices that go out, right? And every month, anywhere from 5 to 100,000, depending upon the firm, the size, the practice, that's many invoices they sent out, 5,000 to 100,000. And all the revenue that's coming in is dependent upon, have the clients received this? Have the client viewed it? Are the clients paying? What are their payment patterns? Where should the team follow up? And imagine this across 5 different systems. There is no way someone can tell exactly where an invoice is or what's the best course of action. Once you start by having this all-in-one platform, which is our invoice to cash platform, you then start getting into all the nuances and data that really start to surface in various parts of our platform to help the firms shorten the invoice outstanding days, get paid faster while providing the best experience to the clients. So simple things like, hey, maybe you should ping this client. Last time you pinged, in 2 weeks they paid the invoice. Having that knowledge and something pop up on your desk as a collector or a biller that says, do this, here's an email. Now that starts to be more intelligent, right? As Sumit was talking about the concept of Copilot, for lack of a better word, nothing to do with Microsoft Copilot, but what our platform becomes is a tool that makes a biller or a collector kind of have 20x or x reach, because nothing slips through the crack. The system is monitoring constantly what's happening with each and every invoice, each and every client, what would be the ideal course of action for each invoice to be paid, right? And we are constantly learning. So, every time an invoice is paid or is delayed, what happened, what pattern led to it, we learn from that. And then next time comes around, we automatically suggest different things. The intelligence that you really want. And there are many other aspects of intelligence too, which is, at different levels. So what is intelligence for a CFO versus COO versus a partner versus a billing and a collections manager, right? I'll let Sumit and Saurabh also chime in on the different personas, but
yeah, I think two key areas I would like to highlight. I think one is we get into discussions with CFOs, and they then speak to their partners or billing timekeepers. And, with the practice management systems that we have today, they don't have a place for them to go and look at where their invoices are. What are they doing? Is it with the client? What's really happening? I need to get that answer, and I'm always relying on somebody. And we change that. We give these billing timekeepers insights into exactly where their invoices are and what's really happening. They don't need to pick up the phone, ask somebody. So that's a really key component. And I think the second one that I'd like to highlight is the client portal. We saw as we started to introduce, the concept of a client portal to, our customers, they opened it up to their clients, and we saw hundreds and thousands of clients registering because they wanted to get the access to their invoices, their statement, and it was so easy for them to get a hold of that, which again sounds simple, but has not been done, and we're really proud to.
Yeah. So. Does all of that, what does that translate to for the firm? Other than this better understanding, does it translate into dollars for the firm?
Yeah. So great question, Bob. We typically talk about our ROI across three main pillars. So one is just the efficiency gains, right? You do typical math. If a firm is sending 5,000 invoices, let's say an invoice takes about 5 to 7 minutes. You do the math for it. That's about 83 hours a week, which is, 2 FTEs. And that's just someone doing manual stuff, right? So that's direct dollar savings, right? Those resources can be put to so much more productive work than just manually typing up stuff. But then the second big pillar of our ROI is what's the value of getting paid faster today? Even if you accelerate the cash flow by 10 or 15 days, it translates into millions of dollars because the cost of clients' debt financing today is through sky, right? I mean, the interest rates are 5-7% for short-term borrowing. Firms constantly have to do that because of the cash flow, right? And now the cost of borrowing money to fund your client's debt is a significant line item in your finances. So getting paid 10 days faster translates to real dollars, significant amount. And then the third is a big aspect of any invoice you look at is the aging. How long has the invoice been outstanding? And most firms have invoices that end up at 60 or 90 or beyond. And then, I'm sure you heard of the very infamous word GBNF, which is gone but not forgotten. And more invoices are moving towards that direction. But having visibility, having the right suggested actions, taking automated actions starts to lower your invoice outstanding days. Fewer invoices in higher bucket means fewer write-offs. So you reduce the write-offs. Even if you reduce the write-offs by, 3%, in that for, a law firm of 100 million or 200 million or $500 million revenue, that's a big number of write-offs. And that's another direct translation of money in the firm's pocket to be invested in projects and other initiatives to support the firm's growth. So these three are the tangible ROIs that we not only put in our model, but we have seen all our existing customers within the first few billing cycles be able to tangibly measure and see the value of this. So
yeah, there are a couple of really important intangible gains too, which is there are no mistakes. So you are never sending an invoice to the wrong client, which can have very significant impact. And the other is just the client experience. So today clients receive a PDF with a footnote that says, pay your invoice to this account, and then they log into their bank account and put the numbers and everything. With our platform, they receive the invoice, click a button, everything is pre-filled. And that's significant client experience.
It's a consumer grade experience, right?
Right.
I mean, you look at your own life outside of your work, you expect certain standards when it comes to you paying your credit cards or your utility bills. But when it comes to law firm's client, why do they have the archaic way of either still writing check or constantly putting account numbers and routing numbers or credit card numbers? Why can't that experience be consumer grade? And that's also a great tangible benefit for the firm.
Yeah, well, that all sounds good. We've got just a couple of minutes left here. Anything else that you want people watching this video to know about you and your latest releases?
Yeah, no, I think, from our perspective, I'll say one thing, which is we are challenging the status quo. We are bringing a new paradigm when it comes to invoice to cash and revenue intelligence. it's really exciting when we see our customers, once they are live on our platform, see the benefit and the results they see just in few billing cycles. Stay tuned for a lot more exciting stuff that's coming in the next months. But one thing for sure, we are changing the status quo, and we know firms really want the right tools. So super excited about that.
Yeah, I'll just add to what Milan said. I think very excited about what the future has to bring. And I think look out for more releases and exciting stuff coming out of Oddr.
And then to basically just say, our goal is to solve problems, and we're going to keep doing that month over month. Keep releasing new features, functionality, and that's the end goal. Just solve problems, solve the pain points people have.
Well, that all sounds good. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of ILTACon to sit down and tell us about Oddr and some of your latest news. It's great to see all three of you, and thanks a lot.
Yep. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Ben.
And that does it for this episode of LawNextPR. I'm Bob Ambrogi. You can find all of our past episodes on YouTube. Just look for LawNextPR there. We're also on the LawNext Legal Tech directory at directory.lawnext.com. Thanks for watching.